Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Yasodanandanan Jaya Vraja Janaranjana Jaya Raja Janaranjana Jaya Yasodanandanan Jaya Raja Janaranjana Jaya Raja Janaranjana Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Shila Prabhupada. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvaj Jakacharya. Astotra Shata Shishimad, His Divine Grace, Shle Si Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvaj Jakacharya Astotra Shata, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki. Anantikot Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Brahmsako Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Ganga Devi Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Brihad Madanga Ki Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki O glorious assembled devotees, O glorious assembled devotees, O glorious assembled devotees, Hare Krishna, O glorious Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Okay, so firstly, I wanted to thank everyone for coming today. It's a very special occasion, Gita Jayanti. So this was the actual day that Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita. So it's a very, very auspicious day. And then we have the fortune to be able to sit here and discuss some of the teachings of the Gita today. Hare Krishna. We'll read the verse. It's, text of chapter 3, text 22. And we can go from there. Name partasti kartavyam Trishu lokeshu kinchana Nanavaptam avaptavyam Varta eva chakarmani Name partasti kartavyam Trishu lokeshu kinchana Nanavaptam avaptavyam Varta eva chakarmani. Okay, so I'll just do the word for word translation. Na, not. Me, me. Me, mine. Pata, O son of Prita. Ashti, there is. Kartavyam, prescribed duties. Trishu, in the three. Lokeshu, planetary systems. Kinchana, any. Na, nothing. Anavaptam, wanted. Avaptavyam, to be gained. Varte, I am engaged. Eva, certainly. Cha, also. Karmani, in prescribed duty. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. O son of Prita, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything. And yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is described in the Vedic literatures as follows. Tam Ishwaram Param Maheshwaram, Tam Devatanam Paramam Cha Devatam, Patim Patinam Paramam Parastad, Vidama Devam Bhuvanesham Idyam, Natasya Karyam Karnam Cha Vidyate, Natatsamas Chabhyadikas Cha Dristyate, Parasya Shaktir Vivideva Shruyate Sabhavika Jnana Bala Kriya Cha. This is the meaning of that. The Supreme Lord is the controller of all controllers, all other controllers, and he is the greatest of all diverse planetary leaders. Everyone is under his control. All living entities are delegated with particular power only by the Supreme Lord. They are not supreme themselves. He is also worshipable by all demigods and is the supreme director of all directors. Therefore, he is transcendental to all kinds of material leaders and controllers and is worshipable by all. There is no one greater than him, and he is the supreme cause of all causes. He does not possess a bodily form like that of an ordinary living entity. There is no difference between his body and soul. He is absolute, and his senses are transcendental. Any one of his senses can perform the action of any other sense. Therefore, no one is greater than him or equal to him. His potencies are multifarious, and thus deeds are automatically performed as a natural sequence. Since everything is in full opulence in the personality of Godhead, and is existing in the full truth, there is no duty for the Supreme Personality of Godhead to perform. One who must receive the results of work has some designated duty, but one has nothing to achieve within the three planetary systems, certainly has no duty, and yet Lord Krishna is engaged on the battlefield of Kurukshetra as the leader of the Kshatriyas, because the Kshatriyas are bound to give protection to the distressed. Although he is above all the regulations of the real scriptures, he does not do anything that violates the revealed scriptures. So there's quite a lot there. I will just say some prayers, and then we can have some discussion. Om Jnana Timirandasya Ginanjana Shakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padansa Gana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Goranki Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vancha kalpaturubhischa kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so so it's quite a lengthy purport and a lot of words which can be confusing and difficult to kind of bring together. I'll do my best to try to give some enlightenment or enlivenment to it. So that we can take something away from this discussion. So I'll just read the verse again. So it says, O son of Pritha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. So I guess the first thing that stands out about this, so what's actually going on here is Krishna is he's describing karma yoga, and so karma yoga, initially in this chapter, what happens is Arjuna is speaking to Krishna, and he's kind of confused because on one hand Krishna has said, okay, you should renounce all the fruits of your work, and then on another hand what he said is that you should work in devotion. And so these two things seem to be contradictory, that one should work, but then one should renounce. They sound, contradictory. How do they come together? But what Krishna's saying here is that it's not that you should actually renounce your work, but what it means is that you engage in your work, but you renounce the desire for the fruits of that work. So you offer those fruits to Krishna and you work in devotion for him. So the two kind of come together. So you carry on with your work, you carry on with your duty, but you do it as an offering to me. So that's the essence of what's been going on. And then Krishna kind of goes on in the chapter and just speaks about the self-realized soul and their qualifications. So people we look up to, the self-realized souls, how can we... what are their kind of qualifications, symptoms? It's like if you have a science manual, you'll look at the symptoms and you'll say, you can understand. We used to do in chemistry. We had these color tests that you would have. So you would have like two different chemicals, and when you put the chemicals in, you know that okay, if this is the outcome, these are the two materials that we'll put in. Yeah. So similarly in spiritual life, it's similar. You can tell the symptom of something in someone by what's actually, by what is seen by that person. So you can see this person is acting like this, they'll be at this level of consciousness. This person is acting like this, they have this level of consciousness. And so that by that we can understand where a person is at in their spiritual life, and then where we're at ourselves and where we can improve. And so Krishna basically says that he's saying that I'm here on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and actually I'm acting as a Kshatriya. I'm acting as a Kshatriya, and he's saying this, and he's saying, but I don't need to be here. And this is quite interesting because he's saying that I'm engaged in prescribed duties. And I guess the first thing that came to mind was this prescribed duties that's spoken about. So prescribed duties is basically, we hear there's two types of prescribed duties in this world. One type of prescribed duty is the duties we have of this world. And then the other prescribed duties that we have are the duties of the next world. So we can split these two things up. And I was just thinking it might be nice to just go through the different types of natures that one can have in this world. So by doing that, what you can do is then you can understand more deeply about yourself, and by understanding yourself more deeply, you can then navigate this world more easily, because ultimately Krishna has made these teachings so actually that we can actually practically change in our lives, because ultimately he wants us to be happy, you know. So if we can somewhat take something from this, so in the Vedas there's described as 4 different natures, and these natures are known as the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. Yep, so we have these 4 different natures, and what they do is they make up our psychophysical body. So our mind, everything that's working inside, they make up our different natures, okay? And our psychophysical makeup, what's going on inside, there's 3 things that actually affect that. So we're born with a certain nature, so that's one thing. The other 2 things are our upbringing, okay? And we've probably seen this so much that so much of the impressions, the things that go on in our mind, so much of the way we view the world is based on our upbringing, because it's like it leaves such a deep impression. It's like if you go to the beach and you have some sand and it's just covered over by the water, and then you make an impression on it, it leaves such a deep impression, so malleable, so easily. So similarly, our childhood is like that, where it leaves such deep impressions on our heart that we see the world through that. Okay, then so we said your childhood, then not just that, but your association as well. So the people, the places that you spend time with, they also have a deep impact on how you see the world, how you view the world. Okay, and then the last is your nature. And so then your nature is the propensities that you may have carried from different lifetimes, so that when you're now in this lifetime, it's what are the natural propensities that you have. And you'll notice these within yourself and other people very easily. And so I'll just run through them quickly. So the first one is the Brahmana. The Brahmana is, in kind of our times, is the teacher. So the Brahmanas, they like to usually share Vedic wisdom, or not Vedic wisdom. They like to share knowledge with others. Okay, so when the Brahmanas, they get their nourishment from sharing knowledge with others, and they tend to be a bit more introspective. So they like to be introspective, think about life, what is philosophical, that kind of aspect. Another aspect of the Brahmanas is that they can live very simply. They prefer a simple life and a more kind of withdrawn and detached life. So yeah, these are a few symptoms of the Brahmana, but they tend to be good at advising jobs, careers, or roles in this world. So you have those kind of things, advisory, teaching, all these things. So that's, and their value system is based on wanting to know the truth. So in each situation, they'll want to know the truth, and that's what's important for them. So then you have the Kshatriyas, and the Kshatriyas, their kind of value system is based on justice and fairness. So whenever they look at a situation, they'll think about, is this fair, is this not fair? And based on that, they'll want to act. Okay. And so they also have a strong nature to want to protect as well. So they usually can be quite stern, firm, and quite cutthroat to some degree, because they can, if something is unfair and unjust, they'll say it and they'll put their foot down. And I'm sure we've met some people like that, because they tend to be very kind of powerful, and you can tell they're the leaders in society. So those are Kshatriyas. Then you have the Vaishyas. And the Vaishyas, they're kind of the thing that they are usually. Thank you. The Vaishyas, the things that they tend to be known, they like business. Yeah. So I have a family relative who's a Vaishya, and he, whenever he looks at something, he thinks about, how can we like expand this? How can we make more money from this? That's his immediate response when he sees anything. So I can tell he's a Vaishya. So yeah, the Vaishyas, they tend to like business, money, and expansion. They have this propensity to want to expand things. So I'm sure you would have seen different people like that. And then the last category is Shudras, and the Shudras, they're the creative type. So they can be known as the artistic type, the creative type, and they work really well when they follow others. So when they follow others, they tend to work well. I'm just thinking anything else. And yeah, the thing that they value is service. Their value system is a lot based on service orientation. So yeah, what we find is that we'll fit into one of these 4 different categories. And so by understanding that, it can help us in so many ways in our life. It can help us just to be happy in a general basis in this world. And so the whole purpose of this, and when we read Srila Prabhupada's books, what we'll find is that it's Srila Prabhupada speaks about this actually quite a lot in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is another text, and in his purports. And it's strange because we're here to know what's the purpose of life, why are we here, who is Krishna, all these questions, and want to know more about him. But Srila Prabhupada, he gives so much emphasis on this. And the reason is because that when we can live according to this system that Krishna has given, what we find is that it's so much easier to focus on the spiritual practices directly. And the interesting thing is that it's, I don't know if it's said here, there's no... What we can understand is that actually each one of us have specific gifts that we've been blessed by Krishna. And so actually by not knowing our actual dharma in this world, what we can't understand is that we don't actually know what is the gift that Krishna has given me and where am I meant to contribute in this world. Because ultimately Krishna has a plan for all of us, and if we don't know those gifts and those talents that Krishna has given us, how can we contribute? So actually by really understanding ourselves, we can actually we can start to actually understand where is Krishna wanting to use me in this world. Yeah, so that's one thing. So this is the duty of this world. This is the duty that we have in this world. But as we know, there is another world. There's the next world. There's Krishna's world, and that's ultimately why we're here. In this verse, it speaks about, Krishna says that, O son of Pritha, there is no work prescribed for me within all 3 planetary systems. So what is described is that we have these 3 planetary systems in the material world. And so what it says is that these 3 planetary systems are the upper planetary systems, the middle planetary systems, and the lower planetary systems. And what we understand is that these are like, you can even describe them in this earthly planet. So the upper planetary systems, they tend to have more opulence. They tend to have all the things that everyone's pretty much searching for in this world. They have the wealth, everyone's got the beauty that everyone's looking for, the riches, everything's there. There's nothing in need, and they have plenty of it. Okay? Then the middle planetary systems, we're actually based in one of the middle planetary systems. Okay? And so they tend to be... you can kind of say it's in between. It's usually more of the mode of passion. So what passion means is there's a lot of running about and all these kind of things. And then the mode of ignorance, or the lower planetary systems, there's a lot of suffering. And so we can actually we can see that even in this world, so you can understand based on your condition where you'll probably lie. And even if you look at it materially, most people say that actually is going to be best if you want to be situated in the upper planetary system. Most people would want that situation. But it's interesting because I was reading a verse the other day, and it was actually saying something very different. And what it was describing was that, so it's saying, this birth as a human being is the best of all. Even birth among the demigods in the heavenly planets is not as glorious as birth as a human being on this earth, or as the use of the exalted position of a demigod. In the heavenly planets, due to profuse material comforts, there is no possibility of associating with devotees. So if we look at this a bit more, what it's actually saying is that our position is better than a position of material comfort. It sounds crazy. One would think one's ludicrous, because if you have all the comforts in the world, most of us are just struggling to get through the day. Okay, then how is it that this saint is saying that actually it's better to have a lesser position? And so what we can understand is that actually, especially in this age, that this time period that we're in, is Kali Yuga. And so what this means is that Manda Sumanda, this means that actually that Jai Shishi Radha Gokulananda ki Jai, Shishi Gauranitai ki Jai, Jai Shishi Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki Jai. So what we can understand is that everyone is always disturbed in this age. Everyone's minds are always disturbed. Everyone's constantly being cheated by others. And basically this age is just, it's an age of misfortune. So then how is it the case that this age is somewhat better than the heavenly planets? And what's actually said is that the reason it's better than the heavenly planets is because there's every reason to turn to God. One is constantly being bombarded by anxieties, by distress, that there's always every reason to turn to God. And so if we start to develop this vision that actually all these troubles, all these sufferings that I'm experiencing, they're actually just a manifestation of God's love for me to turn to Him. Isn't that a completely different vision to what we experience? Yeah? And so what it's saying is that because the whole purpose of this life, the whole purpose of this whole material creation is ultimately to turn to Krishna, to reawaken that relationship that's already there in our heart. And so by doing that, we can actually gain real happiness in our heart, the thing that we're all searching for, And so what it says is that there's a verse which in the Gita which says Abrahma Bhuvanaloka Puna Arjuna Arvatino Arjuna. Anyway, what it says is that from the top planetary system down to the lowest, this place is a place of miseries. So this place being a place of miseries, what does it mean? What it means is that ultimately wherever we go, whatever we do, we're going to hit the same thing. Even if we go to the heavenly planetary systems, what will happen is we'll get some pleasure, but when our karma has run out for those pleasures, we'll actually just we'll lose that happiness. And all those pleasures are just based on the mind and the senses, which means it's going to be temporary. So how can one actually find any happiness just based on this stimulation? Ultimately, that stimulation is just based on the body. And if we actually scientifically look at it, what is this? It is actually just a matter of hormones running. That's the pleasures we're searching for. Isn't that sad? Our whole life is based on running after some buzz. That's the happiness we're all searching for. So it's very sad, the existence that we live in. And so then the question is, well, what is actually the purpose of what we're searching for? And so then Krishna actually says, it's very sweet, because Krishna is then saying here that, so he's saying, O son of Pritha, there is no work prescribed by me within all the three planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. So then the question becomes, why is Krishna, who doesn't need anything, engaged in prescribed duties? It's a very strange question. It's a very strange thing. Why would someone who doesn't need to do anything be here? And then the thing that was coming to mind is that there's a few reasons he does this, and one of the reasons is that it's actually he's doing it out of his love for all of us. The reason he's actually come here is out of his love for all of us, and he's not just come once, but he's come in so many different incarnations and reincarnations repeatedly. And so if we look at it, it's actually his sweetness and kindness that he's doing this. It's like, for example, if you just take some of the qualifications that are given here in the purple, it says the Supreme Lord is the controller of all controllers. He's the greatest of all diverse planetary leaders. Everyone is under his control. All entities are delegated with particular power only by the Supreme Lord, and they're not supreme themselves. He is also worshipable by all demigods. So he has all these qualifications. Ultimately, it's like if you're a big manager or you're a big CEO, why would you come and do the menial work? You would just send someone else, isn't it? Why would you even bother? There's no real need to do it. So it's just like, okay, yeah, I've got these 10 people, I'll just send those. And that's what he does to some degree with the demigods. But not just that, but he comes in this world as well. Then the question is, why is he coming? He's actually coming to attract all of our hearts. That's how desperate he is to have us. That he comes to perform these pastimes in this world so that we actually are attracted back to that real nature. Because right now, we're just attracted to this material nature. The body, the mind, the senses, anything that's in between there, that's all we're attracted to. And externally we may say, oh, maybe I'm not so attracted to that. But we'll see if in our minds truly where we're at. And so what Krishna does is he comes just to perform all these innumerable pastimes. I say innumerable because the Gita is just one of those pastimes. Srila Prabhupada's given us the Srimad Bhagavatam, and in that Srimad Bhagavatam, he's given so many pastimes of the Supreme Lord. And these are just the ones that happened on this planet. So if you think about it, we're looking for things to be interested in, intoxicated in. There's an innumerable vast ocean for us to bathe into, just there, for us to absorb ourselves in. And so one of the reasons that Krishna does this is because he actually gets some pleasure out of making a sacrifice for us. This day is Gita Jayanti is very nice that this day is because what's actually going on in Gita Jayanti is that Arjuna, in the first chapter of the Gita, he's saying that, hey Krishna, you come, you pull me between the two armies. I can't see where, I pull me between the two armies. I want to see who's on the opposing side. And then Krishna's there as his charioteer, acting as a charioteer. Just think about that again for a second. Our eternal position is that Jivara Swarapoi Krishna Nityadas, that I'm eternally a servant of Krishna. But here, he's acting as a servant of his devotee. How sweet is that? He's acting as a servant, the charioteer of his devotee. Not just does he do that, what happens is when this pastime of the Gita is going on, he doesn't just act as a menial servant. What he does is he then, when the horses of the chariot, when they need to get some water, when they need to have a break, guess what Krishna does? Arjuna's there, he's on the chariot, and he's still pulling his arrows and fighting. Then the horses, what happens is, Krishna goes and takes the horses, and he goes to take care of them. He feeds them water, he makes sure they're all okay. And Arjuna's there, getting all the limelight, all the glory, and Krishna's just doing this back work. It's crazy to think this is the Lord we're all looking for. This is the personality we're all looking for. And then not just that. So this happens in the Gita. This is the occasion of Gita Jayanti, what's happening. And so it's very sweet. So we look at why is it that Krishna is engaged in these prescribed duties. In the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, another text, what is described is that Krishna, as some of you may know, Krishna has many different wives. He has many wives in Dwarka. And what happens is, Narada Muni, a great saint, he goes into all of these different households, and he sees that Krishna's there with each of these different each of these different wives. And guess what happens? Krishna sees all these wives, and he thinks, not Krishna, Narada Muni sees all the way Krishna's acting in each palace, and guess what? He's acting in a different way in each palace. He's acting in a different way to each queen in each palace. And one can think, how is that possible that the Lord has expanded himself in so many different ways just for his devotees? But if you take this for a second, we look at the greatness of the Lord. So in this case, he's expanded himself in innumerable forms, okay? So we hear about the greatness of the Lord, but why is he making that greatness? The reason he's doing that greatness is so he can interact with each and every one of his devotees. Isn't that sweet? So the greatness of the Lord has one purpose. The greatness of the Lord is just for the devotee. So similarly, in each and every one of our hearts, we have the Paramatma who's lying in there. And that means he's actually directly sitting with each and every one of us, just waiting for us to have a relationship and interact with him. So this is why all these qualifications are actually described. When we hear these different qualifications that Krishna is, everyone is under his control, they sound very scary and a bit like, oh, okay, like who am I basically? And it's good, that's good for us to know that we're the servant. But the more the more important point is that actually by doing this, by having this understanding, it's actually for our own benefit. Yeah. There's I'll just have a look at 1 second. Yeah, there's another very sweet reason why Krishna does this. So what happens is that Krishna, what he does is he's describing all these glories. He's describing the Supreme Lord as the controller and all other controllers. So he's describing his greatness. And I was reading the other day in a text called Srimad Bhagavatam in the 4th canto. And what it was describing Krishna was describing that is his incarnation of Rishabdev. And what he was saying was that he was going through the different levels of people. So he was saying, okay, the animals are here. You have the different consciousness of animals. Then after the animals, you have these. Then you have the human beings. Then you have the demigods. Then you have Lord Shiva. And then you have Lord Brahma. Then you have me. I'm the greatest of all of them. And it seems a bit proud, no? It seems like, I'm the greatest of all of them. But actually, he's not doing it for that reason. There's a very sweet characteristic in the Nectar of Devotion, one of Srila Prabhupada's books, and it says Dhirodatta. In Dhirodatta, what this quality of Krishna is that it externally looks like an unfavorable quality like pride or envy. And Krishna is displaying these qualities. But he's displaying these qualities for only one reason. And that reason is only for the benefit of his devotee. So in this case, Krishna is describing his greatness. But at the end of this verse, what it says is that, so he's described all the different levels of consciousness of the people, and he says, I am the greatest. And then what does he say after that? But the Brahmanas are greater than me. The Brahmanas are greater than me. So why is that? It's because he has this affection for them. Because in Krishna's view, the Brahmanas are greater than him. It doesn't make sense, but because that's Krishna's viewpoint, then we accept that. And so this is actually another reason why Krishna's greatness is there, because he then glorifies his devotees by seeing the greatness of someone and then putting himself under that person. You can then see the greatness of his devotee. And because ultimately that's the whole reason of this world. The whole reason that this world is created because Krishna wants to glorify his devotees. And so anyway, okay, so let's come back to topic. Yeah, so there's another reason as well Krishna's doing this, because in the previous verse, Krishna says, whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever stands he sets by exemplary examples, all the world pursues this. And so then he says, O son of Pritha, there is no work prescribed for me within all three planetary systems, nor am I wanted anything, nor have I need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. So this is another reason, because in our life we're all looking for role models, isn't it? We're all looking for for people to look up to. How do I live my life? How do I know how to live my life on a daily basis? How do I make decisions in my life? Where am I going in my life? And so Krishna is here, he's just being one example of that. He's being one example of how one should live in this world. And so he takes the position of a householder as someone living in this world, and to show what is the way to live in this world. So this is one reason that he does that. And not just that, but he comes in so many different incarnations, as I said before, and not just that, but he sends his own devotees as well. He sends his own devotees, his own devotees, so that we actually get a deeper understanding. Like before, I was saying that you have so many different varieties of people, so many different psychophysical natures. It's easy to just put people in boxes. But Krishna's given us so many different devotees that we can look up to. And by having so many different devotees to look up to, we can all find certain personalities that we can look up to. There may be someone who has a certain inclination towards something. And so because they have a certain inclination towards that, then you can actually do that. Like for example, we have a picture of Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur up there. He was a magistrate. Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur was a magistrate, and he had 10 children, I think. So one may think that, how is it possible that one can be in this situation but still be a devotee of the Lord? And so this gives hope to all of us, because when we hear these personalities and the stories, we also gain inspiration in our heart to follow. So by following these role models, what actually happens is it gives us direction in our life for where we're all looking for. Because right now we have so many role models outside, and ultimately none of them are going to the place that we're looking for. This material world is described as like it's like a desert, and what we're all looking for is what we see is this mirage. And by searching for this mirage, we run after it, and then we get there and we're like, oh no, that was not really what I was going for. No? And as I was saying before, so much of our consciousness, our heart, is made up of this association. So how is it the case that we need this higher association? We need this higher vision of a higher purpose of life. Where are we going? So by associating with these personalities, you can then actually gain a vision of what is the purpose of my life and how can I navigate my life. So I'll just end on this point then. So today's obviously Gita Jayanti. And kind of one of the kind of key verses that Krishna says in the Gita is 1866, which I'm sure a lot of you will know about. Sarva Dharma Paritijama Mekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sava Papegyo Makshaye Shami Masucha, which means that Arjuna just surrender all varieties of religion. Just abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I'll free you from all your sinful activities, and you will come to me. And so this is like the kind of essence, the summary of what's going on here. And sometimes it's interesting because I remember when I was at school, and if you were told something by a teacher to do something, sometimes you still have questions about it, isn't it? Sometimes you may still have some questions like, okay, yeah, I was told that, okay, if I do this, then, but I still have questions about what that instruction means, isn't it? I was told to do this, but okay, what does that exactly mean? I need elaboration, I need someone to see. So what Krishna does is, he comes as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago, and he comes as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He gave the instruction before, and now what he's giving the example of how we do that. Because as we were saying before, in Kali Yuga, it's so difficult in so many different ways to practice called consciousness, spiritual consciousness. Everything is flowing against us. And because everything's flowing against us, we need a very clear and simple process. And so what is that process? And so Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give this process of Harinam Sankirtan. by this congregational chanting of the holy names, what actually happens is that you're able to awaken your God consciousness. We've described all these things about all these sweet pastimes of the Lord, but how do they not just become something that we hear and we mentally may enjoy, but how does it become a realization? How does it become something I experience that actually the deities that have come here, they've come here just personally for each of me. They come for me. How do I realize that the Lord is seated within my heart? How do all these things happen? So this simple process of chanting the holy names, just by practicing this simple process regularly, what happens is Cetodarpanamarjanam, that the mind starts to become clearer. You start to remove all these layers that we've been attached to for years, all these ways that we've been seeing. And so what happens is when this starts to clear, we start to see things differently. Because right now all we're seeing is matter, dead matter. But then what we start to see is that when we start to clear this mind, we start to see spirit. You know, Krishna speaks about how we're the spirit soul and how that we're not the body. He says these statements, but then how does the realization come? This comes by the practice of this chanting. By this chanting. And then the other thing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said is this association of devotees. So associating with saintly people, by associating with Srila Prabhupada through his books, by coming to the temple, by spending time with the residents who live here, who are absorbing this spiritual atmosphere, who have practiced for so many years, then what happens is we then actually learn how to take shelter of the holy name. You know, because there's so many ways to chant the holy name. But how to know how to take shelter of the holy name. So by associating with the books, by associating with the saintly people, then we're actually able to deeply understand how to do that simple process. Yeah. So I'll end there. And we've got a couple of minutes before the curtains open for Arti. Yeah, were there any questions, comments, criticisms, anything that anyone had to say? Yes. Yeah, it's a good question. I thought that question would come. So ultimately you can't be a mixture. So what it means is that you have one predominant nature, but what's happened is it's mixed up with these other things. So it's mixed up with either your childhood or the association that you've been around. But what happens is right now we sometimes get mixed up. But as you start to practice the chanting, what happens is you start to cleanse your mind. And what happens is your natural nature in this world will come out. So it's normally just a matter of by practicing it will come out. Yeah, so that's one aspect. The other aspect is if you put yourself around loving people who accept you unconditionally, you'll naturally then be yourself. So you won't have to put on faces, because a lot of the time we put on faces in this world, so we don't really understand who we are. So by surrounding yourself by loving people, kind people who accept you, then what you'll see is over time your actual natural self will come out in this world. So there is only one, but we think it's mixed. Yeah, I hope that helps. It's okay. Yeah. Any other questions, comments? No. Okay. Then we'll just set up for the arti. Yeah, okay. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Gita Jayanti ki, Shri Prabhupada ki, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.